What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. My review of The Mandalorian, Episode 5. So as the episode opens, we are immediately thrown into a space battle between Mando and someone else. This guy's right on Mando's tail. He's lighting up the Razor Crest. He's already taken out one of the engines. And Mando's having a hard time getting this guy off his tail. Now, I like the way the scene was shot. I like the way that it plays out. But I thought it was odd that there was absolutely no score. No music. Now, usually in Star Wars, when we have a space battle, we've got that really exciting John Williams music in the background. And without that music to sort of help build the tension and push the action forward, I just thought that it was lacking. So then Mando pulls off the Top Gun move where he hits the brakes and the guy flies right by. And with that, he takes out his ship, and now the Razor Crest is damaged. Luckily, there's a nearby planet that happens to have a maintenance hangar, and it's Tatooine. So it was really cool to hear Mando communicating with Mos Eisley's. And as the Razor Crest is sort of flying in low, approaching Mos Eisley's, it just looks like they ripped those scenes right out of New Hope. And then Mando docks in a maintenance hangar, and that's where we see our mechanic. Now, overall, I didn't mind her character, but she did seem a little out of place. Now, Mando's a little low on credits, so to get the Razor Crest fixed, he's going to have to go find some work. And that's right, kids, we go back to the cantina. I thought it was really funny that when you go into the cantina, you see that there's actually a droid behind the bar, and that was sort of the big thing with the New Hope, is that, the droids were kicked out of the bar, they weren't welcome, and now the droids are actually running the place. But if we're going to go back to the cantina and you're going to recreate that scene, you've got to have an amazing level of detail because, come on, those scenes are pretty iconic. For the most part, I think the cantina was recreated well, but if you go back and watch New Hope and then you watch this episode of The Mandalorian, you see there's just a lot of differences that for me sort of stood out. One of the things is when they pan across, you got that big shot where they pan across the cantina. There's no lights on the wall, where you had before you had like the red and blue sort of lights. They weren't there. I like the fact that it is a little bit different. I understand that. I mean, I mentioned before about the droids actually running the place. I like the fact that there's no music. I don't think the live band would have fit this series well, so I'm glad they left that out. But I'm just saying, if you're going to go there, this has to be damn near exact. So there's too many pipes. They're too tall. Look at the seat back, okay? If you look at his seat back is much higher than it is here. Now, like I said, being on Disney Plus is a blessing and a curse because we can switch back and forth and check your work. So, Favreau, you better stay on your game. Now, in this side-by-side, the seat back isn't quite as dramatic, but the pipes are still killing me. I mean, good God. All the pipes. Come on, man. What are we doing? Okay, so now with all my nitpicking out of the way, we get to sort of the meat and potatoes of this episode. So it's in the cantina that we meet Toro Calican. So in the cantina, we meet Toro Calican, and he is a young bounty hunter trying to break into the guild. And because Mando has got to get the Razor Crest repaired, he agrees to help out Toro on his first bounty. Now, while this is going on, we have a scene with the mechanic finding Baby Yoda. And, I mean, for me, this should have been maybe 5 seconds, but this scene goes on way too long. She should have just been working on the ship, right? Just working along, and she hears the baby cry, or she hears a noise, and she discovers, oh, Baby Yoda. Oh, wow. And that's it, right? That's it. A couple seconds, 5 seconds, whatever, and you move on. But this scene just Listen, we only have so much time within these episodes to get things done, to get things accomplished, to move the story forward. This scene plays out way too long. They're playing like poker. She's playing poker with the droids, and they're betting nuts and bolts, and she hears a noise, and she tells the droids to go get her gun, and because they think, maybe it's a monster coming out of the ship. I don't know. And then Baby Yoda comes out, and then she picks Baby Yoda up, and she's talking to Baby Yoda. I'm like, come on! So then Mando and Toro take off in search of the bounty. So they run across some Tusken Raiders. Mando knows Tusken Raiders' sign language. Toro's got to give up his binoculars so that they can have safe passage across the desert. So they don't actually fight them, so I guess that's good. So then they stumble across a D-bag who's dragging its rider. And as Mando begins to investigate, he takes fire, and we have sort of a Metal Gear Solid Sniper Wolf scenario. I like the way this scene plays out. They couldn't just bum rush her. It's the middle of the day. She's obviously got the drop on him. She has the high ground. So, as we know from Episode 3, the high ground is everything.
Don't try it.
Now, they've identified where they think she is, so what they do is they wait till nightfall. And then they both run their speeders directly towards her position. Now, Mando assumes that she's going to have some sort of thermal imaging scope, so to blind her, they alternate shooting flares until they get to her position. Now, Mando does take a few hits to the Beskar, but Toro is able to get the drop on her. So they have a little fist fight, but then Mando shows up, they throw the cuffs on her, and because she took out one of their speeders, somebody has to go get the D-bag so they can all make it back to Mos Eisley's. And after some debate, Mando says, okay, I'll go get the D-bag, you stay here with her and the speeder. Now, while Mando's gone, May from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. tells Toro that, hey, guess what? You need to kill him because, he's got a big bounty on his head. Hell, even his Beskar is worth more than the bounty on me. And Toro puts two and two together because he did see the child. So he's like, okay, well, I guess she's telling the truth. So instead of the two of them working together, he shoots her. And I think at the end of the day, it was probably a smart move. But why did they pay all that money to get that actress to play that part? Just seems like money you could have spent elsewhere. So Mando eventually makes it back. He finds that Toro is gone with the speeder, and May from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is dead. So Mando has to ride all the way back to Mos Eisley's, and now obviously Toro got there way before he did because he's got a speeder. And with that advantage, I thought that Toro would have more of an elaborate trap set for Mando. Especially the way that Mando rides the D-back back in, sort of like a cowboy riding his horse down Main Street in some old western. And then the fact that this episode is called Gunslinger, I was expecting like a shootout, like at high noon or something. But no, as soon as Mando walks into the maintenance hangar, Toro just like announces his position, tells him his evil plan. There's 2 shots fired. Mando gets a drop on him with a flash grenade and takes him out with 1 shot. Then he pays the mechanic with money he steals off of Toro and then leaves. And I'm like, there could have been so much more done with this episode. If you go back and you cut that whole scene where the mechanic finds Baby Yoda, which should have been just a few seconds, you could have really had this more elaborate scene at the end. And like I said, it didn't have to be elaborate. Like, I'm not talking about like episode 3 where we have just this massive special effects bonanza. You could have had a much more elaborate trap set at the end where Toro sort of shows off his skill, because I'm asking myself at the end of this episode, who's the gunslinger? I mean, Toro plays with his pistol a lot, but I don't see him really doing anything. I wanted to see him actually get the drop on Mando, and, the Beskar is the only thing that sort of saves him because he's a gunslinger, so Toro's really quick, so Mando has to come up with a different way to beat him. But at the end of the day, there's nothing in this episode that moves the story forward. We don't learn anything different or new. I mean, we already knew that bounty hunters were going after Mando, so the fact that we see that doesn't add anything. Now, there's a scene at the very end, sort of a post-credit scene, where we see someone walking up to find May dead in the desert, and we don't see anything really. We see black boots, we see a cape. Some people may speculate that this is another Mandalorian, or maybe this is Boba Fett, but I think this is just Grief Karga. I think he's pissed off at Mando. I think he wants revenge, but I guess it is possible that it could have just been another bounty hunter that was tracking her with a fob. So now it's time to rank this episode. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I think it's tied with episode 2 for my least favorite of the series. The quality is still there as far as the visuals. The score and some of the musical choices are not that they're bad, they're just absent. The unnecessary scenes, coupled with the fact that this is really just a filler episode, just makes it a disappointment for me. And if you're going to call this episode Gunslinger, I'd like to see some gunslinging. All right, those are my thoughts, but let me know down in the comment section, what did you think about the episode? Hit like if you liked the video, subscribe if you liked the content. Y'all have a blessed day, and I will see you next time.